Hello, my name's Kobb Thongsai here at Art of War.
I think it comes down to what we were talking about in the other video with stance. Again, depending on the opponent, if I'm facing a guy that's just a Muay Thai striker, I'm probably going to stand in a Muay Thai stance because I'm worried about getting my legs kicked out. If I'm fighting against somebody who's a well-rounded MMA fighter who might punch me, they might kick me, they might try to take me down, that's when I have to get into a little more of a neutral MMA stance where I'm not really in a Muay Thai stance, I'm not in a wrestling stance. I'm not in a Muay Thai stance, I'm in a hybrid stance. So I see that general stance as being a launching point. One thing I'm seeing a lot of nowadays, since fighters are much more well-rounded and they're not really specialists in a certain art, is that what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of creative stance switching. I'm seeing people use constant level changes to set up strikes, and I'm seeing strikes to set up takedowns, right? So the fighters nowadays are very fluent at combining the different striking and grappling together. That's the biggest development I see. And then I think compared to fighters a decade ago, you're seeing just a lot more footwork and head movement in general. You're seeing a lot more diversity of technique because you're seeing guys now, I'm going to go with some traditional boxing, then I'll throw a Muay Thai kick, and then they miss, and now I throw a spinning wheel kick, which is a Taekwondo technique. You know, or perhaps I do something creative, like I throw a kick, then a punch, instead of a punch, then a kick, you know? So what I'm just seeing in general is these athletes nowadays, they're not individual styles. They're able to integrate all of the techniques much more effectively now compared to 10 or 20 years ago, certainly compared to 20 years ago. A lot more movement, a lot more feints, a lot more faking grappling and striking, and faking striking and grappling. And I would say the fighters now, it's not just Muay Thai and boxing. You know, they're realizing now, hey, I can use a little bit of Taekwondo and karate in there as well to create a pretty, and I can use just some tricky MMA striking techniques that aren't even in the playbook, you know, in traditional martial arts. So I think now what you're seeing is over the last, say, 5 to 10 years, these are mixed martial arts athletes, you know. They're using all of the rules of the game. I mean, some of these guys are jumping off the fence like Pettis, right?
And some people are doing the cartwheel kick like Sanchai from Thailand.
And like the creative way to stand up using the capoeira kick that I showed in a separate video. So I think what you're seeing now is you're seeing fighters integrate a lot of different striking styles and grappling styles, and then it's coming down to, what am I as a fighter good at? What do I feel comfortable with? You know, and that's where your own individuality comes out, because the hardest thing you can do as a martial artist is you learn to be yourself. I think first you learn the building blocks, the traditional arts, but then as you begin to discover your own fighting style,
then you mold into yourself.
You become yourself. I mean, that's what we're trying to help people express themselves, and that's something that Bruce Lee alluded to in his Tao of Jeet Kune Do book. He was way ahead of his time, but I think there's a quote in there to that extent where he basically said, man, the hardest thing in martial arts is to just be yourself. To not be limited by just what your teacher. Now, if you're a white belt, you need to just copy your teacher. But as you become more advanced, and if you're a professional mixed martial arts fighter, I would expect those people to be, they're artists. They're learning, what am I good at? And ultimately, that's what you have to do. You have to do the stuff that works for you.
My recommendation is to have an open mind and learn to listen, nowadays you're seeing so many crossovers, a lot of Muay Thai champions are coming over to MMA. My advice is learn everything. Use your Muay Thai as a base, because it's a great base. Because at the beginning, we all know what were the styles that made MMA today, and that was wrestling, that was jiu-jitsu, that was Muay Thai, and that was boxing. Just keep with that, keep your good base, learn, and be willing to listen, and have a strong heart.